So we talked recently about the dysfunction of the Blazers organization that led to an investigation into workplace misconduct by one Neil Olshey, who still has a job, and the investigation is still ongoing. There has been some recent developments about this. Well, first and foremost, Trailblazers president and CEO Chris McGowan, in the midst of all this, recently resigned from his position, his post. He had been there 10 plus years. He had been there the exact same amount of time as Neil Olshey. Huge surprise. By all accounts, everybody loved him. He was given a ton of power from Paul Allen, and then when Paul Allen passed away, R.I.P. Paul Allen, Jody Allen, his sister. He was set to take on a bigger, more important role within the organization, and apparently now he said, hey, my resignation has nothing to do with the Olshey investigation whatsoever. Sure. Okay. McGowan was in the last year of his contract. Since he started the same year as Olshey, people are 100% going to think that the two things are related. Even if they're not, he might move on to greener pastures. Who knows? Maybe there were some things that were going on with his role that had nothing to do with Neil Olshey being kind of an asshole and putting a negative stain onto his reputation. He's like, I gotta go, but maybe it had nothing to do with that. Maybe. Apparently, though, this investigation into the Blazers' workplace environment, along with the Robert Sarver investigation, I'm sure, has a whole lot of NBA front office execs scared. Running scared, making moves like little rats in the corner, just shifting around, scurrying around, like when you turn the lights on, you're How scared, you may ask? Well, apparently, there is a new push to expedite the creation of an NBA, can't make this stuff up, an NBA front office employees union, because they are worried that teams are going to start using such allegations like hostile workplace environments and rampant sexism and racism as being for-cause terminations where those contracts will immediately be voided and those GMs will get no money. Really? You don't say. According to ESPN, NBA general managers are working to finalize the formation of a professional association that would collectively support executives with access to legal defense funds, because they don't have enough money themselves, lawyer referrals, and public relations professionals to help basically prevent any blowback to stain their own reputations for possible shitty things that they've done. Why now, you may ask? COVID. Mostly COVID, because revenue's way down. There are NBA executives who are afraid that Portland is creating a precedent, a blueprint to invoke firing for cause to avoid payment on big money contracts. Imagine, if you will, if Sacramento could find some way to fire Luke Walton for cause where they wouldn't have to pay him out his contract. How fast do you think he would have been fired? How fast do you think some sexual investigation would have been going on into him? Which, I think that already happened, by the way. I think that happened. I Google it. I think it happened. Again, the question is why? Well, these same NBA executives point out that over the 9 years in Portland, the NBA has received, quote, no calls to the league office or tips to its hotline alleging workplace complaints against Olshey. Nor has the Blazers' HR department received any complaints until recent, quote-unquote, recent weeks. Excuse me. This all leads me to a point about something I've been thinking about since this story came out last week. Can we talk about the elephant in the room here? Because it's been weighing on my mind, and I feel I need, as a voice of reason, to come out and say some things. Can you just come with me to this place? Imagine that you yourself have been working within the NBA front office ranks. Maybe you went to like Wichita State, trying to get your feet wet, and you find yourself in with the Portland Trailblazers. You're maybe like a scout, right? You're a little assistant scout. You're just starting out. You're just a baby in the game. And you discover that in your early goings that the workplace environment is, how we say, unsavory, less than ideal, not quite toxic, but not clean water, not quite Flint water, but definitely not like Portland or New York water, like DC water. Like it tastes like shit, but you know there's something wrong with it, but you can't exactly point out why. Who exactly do you complain to? Like, you go to the anonymous NBA tip line? Like, be serious, like, ring. Yeah. This is Trysta Krick. I'd like to speak with Adam Silver. Who are you? Yeah, I'm an NBA assistant scout for the Portland Trailblazers. I've been here for 60 days. I'd like to report some malfeasance. Like, click. Excuse me. I'd like to report my GM for saying some mean things to me when I told him that Jonathan Kuminga had a nasty left hand. He called me a fucking idiot. Who do you think these people have access to? Like, oh, we haven't heard any complaints against Neil Olshey in the 9 years that he's been there. Like, who are these people, these cogs in the wheel, supposed to be going and complaining to, right? Like, do you think that these people have access to those that are in power? Like, who are these people you're supposed to hit up? It's not the GM. Hey, Neil, just want to let you know I'd like to put a little piece of paper into the tip box. I think you were mean to me last Tuesday when I brought my tuna fish sandwich in. And you said my breath stinks. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, these people are just cogs in the wheel. They're easily replaceable, expendable, a normal, everyday bolt you could pick up at the Ace Hardware. You're not special. There's a million of you waiting in line, just salivating over the chance to work for an NBA team. No? So you just put up with some shit. You're not going to complain. You're going to put up with some shit until you don't have to anymore. Everyone, though, starts out as a bolt. Everyone. Just an everyday bolt turning into Eric Spoelstra. Like, Eric Spoelstra was the video coordinator. That one got a good one. The Eric Spoelstra was a video coordinator at one point in time. Do you think people thought he was going to be one of the most highly respected NBA coaches in modern memory? No. So there is no incentive, if you're an everyday little bolt, to be truthful about these things. There's no way to be honest about these types of things in an environment which has no protections for whistleblowers. Like, does not behoove you to say a peep. This is why not a few, but apparently dozens of employees came out all at the same time. Just mysteriously, when Robert Sarver came under investigation, it was like a waterfall came down of complaints. Because once enough people are there, then you feel brave. Bravery is not easy when you're the only one saying anything. Like, they talk about trailblazers are the ones with the arrows in their fucking backs. Like, you don't want to be those people. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why the Olshey probe took all of 24 hours to escalate into a full-scale investigation. Because you talk to a couple people and you're like, oh, shit. Yep. So here's the thing. I am sure there's more than a few toxic environments in the NBA. I'm sure. How long did Donald Sterling exist? How you think that was just new news? Like, he just woke up one day and was like, I am going to start being a slumlord. I'm going to start dropping the N-bob to my side piece. Like, no. This had been going on, right? Like, we needed video evidence for this thing to become a full-scale, got to get this guy out of here. 2021, it is a different world, boy, and the NBA is full of machismo, right? And vulnerability is looked down upon. There is a ton of competition. You have to put up with so much shit just to be in that place. Like, think about, Gerson Rosas in Minnesota. Like, so many of these front office employees were athletes themselves, and they were, like, running suicides until they threw up. They're like, oh, well, I was put into like 101 degree like tool shed when I missed 3 free throws at the end of the game against, Portland State. But like, I can put up with someone calling my breath smelling like hot pickled pig's feet. Like, what's that? At least I didn't have to like sit into a sauna. These guys played for guys like Bobby Knight. Like, Neil Olshey is nothing. Neil Olshey is a dream. My college coach was way worse than that. Like, what do you mean toxic work environment? Like, what do you mean, oh, just because no one's complained, nothing's going on? Like, and on top of that, like, let's talk about this union. We gotta, are you serious? Like, they don't need a union. Do you know who needs a union? Walmart workers need a union. Unions protect employees from predatory instincts of their employers, who try to always take advantage of underprivileged, underserved, voiceless workers who make like $7 an hour. People who do not get paid enough, people who have to work under extreme working conditions, people who cannot lobby to protect themselves, right? They need a union because they will be fired as soon as they try to speak up for themselves. They are the voiceless. They need a union. You know who doesn't need a union? People with 10-year-long contracts who make millions of dollars, who normally, when fired, ride off into the sunset with a fat fucking check. Those people, they don't need to unionize. Like, these fuckers are working overtime to keep doing everything that they can to keep those parachutes, those golden parachutes intact. Because that's how it's always been. It doesn't fucking matter if you berate your secretary or tell her she looks good in that tight-ass skirt or call John from accounting an incompetent piece of shit. Like, no. If you get fired, you get paid. That's the way it goes. NBA front office execs, they don't need a fucking union. Like, they don't. The funny thing, though, is that this is all coming up after they looked into Neil Olshey, because Neil Olshey had tenure. Lifetime tenure. Jody Allen was never going to fire Neil Olshey. And by the way, Neil Olshey is terrible at his job. Period. Like, that is not a debate. He's not good. And he's been in the good graces of an owner, and the owner's now sister, who's largely completely hands-off. And it's going to take an investigation like this for him to lose his job. And now everyone's like, oh, fuck. If Neil Snake-Tongue Olshey can get fired, all of us can be fired. And if he doesn't get any money, none of us are getting money. Come on now. So let's form a union to get defense funds to protect us, so that no matter how egregious our behavior is, in order for us to get out, in order for you to show us the door, you need to pay us our fucking guap. Like, that's the deal. That shit is ridiculous. The lengths that millionaires will go to make sure to protect themselves and their fucking millionaire friends, to make sure they all stay paid. It never ceases to amaze me, man. Like, they are out. I mean, the things that they will do, the excuses that they will make. Like, they're like, oh, well, these owners, we gotta basically say, hey, these owners, they're the real bad guys. Like, we are the little guys. They are the big. Get the fuck out of here. A union for allegedly shitty and incompetent employees, most of them that are mediocre at their job, to stay paid no matter what they do. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck yo union. Fuck yo couch. Like, I'm going to put my little feet all over your couch and put my mud all over. Are you serious? I cannot wait to see how this ends. I cannot wait. I am on the edge of my seat. I tell you what, if GMs actually fuck around and successfully form a union to absolve them from what we're finally seeing as a baby semblance of accountability only when there's video evidence and a mountain of employee complaints, and you still stay paid and protected. Holy shit, are we in for a hell of a ride, aren't we? Holy shit.